I heard the laughter first, thin, sharp, and too sweet to be real, and then I heard the sound of the wine glass touching the table as my mother made her announcement. That was the moment everything shattered for me. It was a warm September evening in Sacramento, California, the kind of evening where the air feels soft against your skin and the world feels almost peaceful. We were gathered in my parents' living room. My sister Melanie was glowing with that smug excitement she always wore when she thought something special was about to happen, something special for her, anyway. And then my mother smiled, touched Melanie's hand, and said the sentence that would flip my entire life. "Rosie, we've decided to give Melanie the house as her wedding gift." I felt something go cold in my stomach. Not annoyance. Not jealousy. Something darker. Something hollow. Because that house? The one they were giving away like a scented candle or a blender. I had been paying the mortgage on it for years. And suddenly, every late night, every skipped vacation, every moment I'd convinced myself it was for family, it crashed down around me like broken glass. If this kind of betrayal hits something inside you, tell me where you're watching from, because I want to know I'm not alone. My name is Rosie, and in my family, being the reliable one wasn't a compliment, it was a convenient role assigned to me as soon as I was old enough to work. I grew up the eldest daughter in a middle-class home in East Sacramento. My parents weren't bad people, not at first, but they were masters at one skill, making their problems my responsibility. Melanie, my younger sister by 4 years, was the sweet one, the dreamer, the baby. Everyone said she had a soft heart. I say she had soft consequences. I was 25 when things started tightening for my parents. Dad's construction job slowed. Mom's medical bills from an old injury started piling up. Their mortgage became a looming monster they couldn't keep up with. I had just started working at a veterinary clinic. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. Dependable. The kind of worker who shows up early and leaves late. So one night, my father sat me down at the kitchen table. His eyes looked tired in a way I wasn't used to. "Rosie, we're falling behind on the mortgage. We might lose the house." And like the good daughter I'd been trained to be, I stepped in. "1 year," I said. "I'll only help for 1 year." That was the promise I made to myself. But 1 year became 2. 2 became 3. And before I knew it, 7 years had passed with me paying every monthly installment. 7 years. While Melanie floated between jobs, took spontaneous weekend trips, and had found herself in ways I never got the chance to. The house wasn't fancy. It was a 1-story ranch-style home on a quiet street lined with eucalyptus trees and cracked sidewalks. But it was the house we grew up in. Dad had built the back deck with his own hands. Mom planted roses under the kitchen window. The house held memories, good ones and painful ones. It was where Melanie and I hid under blankets during thunderstorms, where Dad grilled burgers on summer nights, where Mom hugged me after my first heartbreak. So when I agreed to help my parents, I wasn't just saving a building. I was saving my childhood. And back then, I genuinely believed they appreciated it. They'd say things like, "We couldn't do this without you. You're keeping this family together. Someday, this house will be yours." Those words kept me going. But over the years, the gratitude faded into expectation. Expectation melted into entitlement. And entitlement became something even worse, the assumption that I didn't matter. That assumption would come crashing down soon enough. So that night, 7 years after I'd first stepped in, my parents invited me and Melanie over for dinner. Melanie brought her fiancé, Trevor, a guy who liked to talk about his entrepreneurial spirit, even though he worked 2 days a week at his cousin's gym. We were halfway through dinner when Mom made the announcement. "We're giving Melanie the house." I stared at her. At her wedding, she added, smiling proudly. As a gift. A gift. A whole house. Bought on the back of my paychecks. I forced my voice to stay steady. But I've been paying the mortgage. Melanie giggled, actually giggled, like this was funny. Oh come on, Rosie. You paid because you lived here. It's not a big deal. I haven't lived here in 4 years. My father waved a hand like the details bored him. You've always been the responsible one. You can handle yourself. And that was the private humiliation moment I will never forget. My mother leaned in and whispered, soft enough that only I could hear. Don't ruin this for your sister. That quiet, cutting line was the dagger. At the end of the table, Melanie sipped her wine, smiling like she'd already moved in. That's when I realized. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was betrayal. And I was done being the dependable daughter. A cliffhanger? Sure. Because what came next wasn't anger. It was calculation. For the next 2 weeks, I acted normal. I went to work. I answered my parents' texts. I smiled when Melanie sent me wedding inspiration boards. But inside me, gears were turning. Because here's the thing, my parents thought I'd just swallow this. They thought I'd take the scraps of gratitude and walk away quietly. They didn't understand that 7 years of sacrifice builds something more powerful than obedience. It builds leverage. I had the mortgage receipts. The bank statements. The payment history. The emails begging me for help. Everything. But before I did anything, I needed to confirm something important. Whose name was on the deed? I checked the county recorder's office online. And guess what? The house was still in my parents' name. That meant they couldn't gift it to Melanie without paperwork. Paperwork with signatures. Paperwork that required disclosures. Disclosures that had to match reality. And reality was simple. I had been paying for the house. If they failed to disclose that, their transfer would be held up. Possibly audited. Potentially challenged. I wasn't planning something illegal. Just, the truth presented in the right light. But first, I needed to gather more information. So I paid them a visit. I arrived on a quiet Sunday afternoon. The lawn was overgrown. The porch light flickered. The house looked tired, like it knew it was part of something ugly. Mom opened the door, surprised to see me. Rosie, you should call first. I gave her the warmest smile I could fake. I wanted to talk about the house. Her lips tightened. She knew exactly what I meant. Dad walked in from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. What now? What's the plan? I asked. Are you transferring ownership? Selling? Refinancing? We'll figure it out, Dad said. Trevor knows someone who can handle the paperwork. Trevor. Of course. Melanie wandered in, wrapped in a plush robe like she already lived there. She rolled her eyes. Rosie, don't be dramatic. It's not like you owned it. I kept my expression calm. You're right. I don't own it. But I do have a financial interest. Melanie laughed. A financial interest? You helped out. God, you act like you bought the place. I didn't respond. Not yet. Because the turning point was coming. The moment I would decide to stop begging and start acting. 3 days later, I got a text from my mom. Please stop bringing up the mortgage. It's embarrassing. Melanie deserves this. Deserves. That word sparked something sharp in my chest. Then Melanie sent me a voice note. Rosie, the house is better off with someone who will actually start a family in it. You know, someone with a future. Someone with a future. She didn't even say it with malice. It was worse, she said it with pity. That was the moment. The moment I stopped being the apologetic daughter. Here is the turning point line you requested. I realized I was done asking for fairness from people who never planned to give it. I sat down, opened my laptop, and began outlining my plan. Not revenge for revenge's sake. Justice. Accountability. Truth. Because California has rules, clear legal rules, about property transfers, gift taxes, financial disclosures, and undisclosed interests. And my family had ignored all of them. My revenge wasn't fire and screaming. It was paperwork. California has strict gift tax reporting laws. If my parents transferred a house valued at over $500,000, and in Sacramento, that's practically every house, they had to file forms. Disclose financial involvement. Explain irregular mortgage payments. And if they didn't? It triggered reviews. Audits. Delays. Potential penalties. I didn't need to sabotage anything. I just needed to inform the appropriate offices of the facts. So I collected bank statements showing my payments, email threads begging me to help, texts confirming I covered the mortgage, a notarized statement from my bank verifying consistent transfers, 7 years of receipts. Then I wrote a simple, factual letter to the county office. I am a financial contributor to the mortgage of this property and request a standard review to ensure all disclosures are accurate before transfer. That's it. No accusations. No attacks. Just a request for accuracy. And California loves accuracy. I mailed it. Certified. Then I waited. And oh, the waiting paid off. If this story has kept you hooked halfway, hit the like button so more people see it. 2 weeks later, I got a furious call from my father. What did you do? I kept my voice calm. Dad, what's wrong? They put a hold on the transfer, he yelled. They want to review the mortgage history. They asked who paid what. Why didn't you tell us you'd done this? Because, I said, I wanted the truth on record. Mom got on the phone, her voice shaky. Rosie, you've embarrassed us. They want documents, forms, explanations. And you'll give them, I said. Just tell the truth. Melanie called next. Her voice wasn't angry. It was panicked. Rosie, why are you doing this? My wedding is in 3 weeks. You'll still get married, I said. You just won't get a house built on my paychecks. You're ruining everything. No, I said gently. I'm stopping you from taking everything. Everything after that happened quickly. The county slowed the transfer. The financial disclosures didn't match. The mortgage history contradicted their statements. The gift tax documentation raised questions. A clerical officer requested interviews and additional proof. Melanie and Trevor's wedding gift collapsed under its own dishonesty. There was no house to brag about. No backyard for wedding photos. No, look what my parents gave me, moment. They had nothing. Just empty promises and a very confused wedding planner. My parents were humiliated, not publicly, but privately in the only way that matters to people who value appearances. They begged me to fix it. I didn't. but I didn't attack them either. I simply gave them an offer. Put my name on the deed proportionate to the mortgage I paid. Then you can gift the rest to Melanie. They refused. Of course they did. So the house stayed exactly where it was. Frozen under review. Unable to be transferred. Stuck like glue. They couldn't sell it. Couldn't refinance it. Couldn't sign it away. Eventually, Dad texted me. Fine. Bring the papers. We met at a notary office on a foggy Saturday morning. The kind of morning where Sacramento feels muted, almost dreamlike. Dad signed. Mom signed. And just like that, I legally owned 62% of the house, exactly matching the proportion of the mortgage I had covered. Melanie was furious. She screamed. She cried. She accused me of ruining her wedding. But her wedding went fine. Just without a house she never earned. I didn't kick my parents out. I didn't punish them. Instead, I made them an offer. You can stay here as long as you want. But you'll pay rent. Fair rent. It wasn't revenge. It was fairness. They reluctantly agreed. Melanie didn't come around anymore. Trevor never spoke to me again. And honestly, the silence was peaceful. A month later, I stood on the back deck, the one Dad built, and felt something loosen inside me. Not anger. Not triumph. Relief. For the first time in years, the house felt like mine. Not because I owned it, but because I had finally claimed my boundaries. Family can hurt you in ways strangers never could. They know the soft spots, the weak points, the cracks under your surface. But family can also be held accountable. The moral isn't to seek revenge. It's to recognize your worth long before others do, and protect it fiercely. I didn't destroy my parents. I didn't shame my sister. I just refused to be walked on. And sometimes, refusing is the most powerful justice of all. If you felt this story in your chest, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell me your thoughts, I read every comment.